Why do people abuse office? And why do people jump to procurement process? All these things were done in a way of making sure that I beat the stages.
Nigerians should know that the act of giving somebody money to secure a job slot for you in the first place is an offense. So by doing that, you're committing an offense because you're bribing somebody to get something for you.
This judgment is a good one for the commission. It will help people who are in that line of action to desist from carrying out such offenses, carrying out such crimes rather, because imagine a student being in school and not free to do what they have to do just because someone harasses them and compels them to do things that they ordinarily don't want to do.
Hello, viewers, and welcome to Transparency Files, the weekly production of the ICPC. My name is Murna Barnabas Atiai. Compliments of the season. The Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 mandates the ICPC to use all legal means to rid Nigeria of all forms of corruption while promoting probity, accountability, transparency, and integrity in the public and private lives of citizens. Many individuals whose cases have been handled by the Commission and found wanting have been duly sanctioned, serving as a deterrent to others. Today, we bring you highlights of some of these recent convictions secured by the ICPC. A journey from accusation to conviction where every testimony mattered, every detail counted, and one moment changed everything. Also in this edition, a character molding skit and reports from our state offices. Stay with us.
A report from Ondo State reveals that ICPC has reconstituted and inducted a new Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, ACCU, at the Federal University in Oye Ekiti. At the event, the resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Mr. Tiku Mengi Andrew, outlined ACCU's mandate in procurement, personnel, and financial oversight, while the Vice Chancellor of the institution, Professor Abayomi Sunday Fashino, described the development as vital to the university's drive for integrity and national development. Coming from Lagos State, the resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner, represented by Mrs. Yvonne William Mbata, has cautioned that corruption remains a major threat to human rights and good governance in Nigeria at the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos Branch Human Rights Committee Conference held in the state to mark the 77th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and International Human Rights Day. She highlighted the direct link between corruption and denial of basic rights, noting that diversion of public funds deprives citizens of essential services, with vulnerable groups being the most affected. And from Maiduguri, the Controller of Nigerian Customs Service, Borno State Command, Mr. Abdullahi Muhammad Idris, has paid a courtesy visit to the ICPC Borno State Office to strengthen interagency collaboration against corruption. In his remarks, the Controller emphasized the need for intelligence sharing and joint operations, assuring the Commission of their commitments to the anti-corruption fight. Responding, the resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Mr. Linus Gubi, reaffirmed ICPC's readiness for strategic partnerships, stressing that collective and coordinated efforts are key to combating corruption.
Corruption not in my country.
So, now, straight to business.
Good.
Now, that case between State versus Femi Wole.
Femi Wole.
Yes.
Is he your son?
That's my heir apparent.
Did he actually kill the wife?
His juvenile delinquency, they must have taken some few bottles.
A man of 40. Juvenile delinquent?
Now, what do we do? I don't want him to go to jail.
We are very good friends. But for this, I cannot help you.
You know I was so nice to you in school. I took care of you.
I'll politely leave.
No, you can't leave. How much do you want me to pay?
Wale, this is not about money. It's about the law. Bribing a judge to subvert the cause of justice is corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now. Corruption not in my country.
You're watching Transparency Files. Today's edition features recent convictions secured by the ICPC. the truth behind the verdict. This was the case of 4 individuals and a company jailed for conspiracy to offer bribes, payment of bribes, forgery, and making false statements to public officers. The convicted persons are Kenneth Okezie Samuel, first defendant, Boss Engineering Nigeria Limited, second defendant, Collins Ugu, third defendant, and Cosmos Okechukwu Eze, fourth defendant. They were arraigned before Honorable Justice A.O. Otaluka of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Apo Division, on a 6-count charge contrary to the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. After the adoption of final written addresses, the court delivered its judgment, holding that the prosecution had proved all 6 counts beyond reasonable doubt. Justice Otaluka ruled that the evidence established a deliberate scheme by the defendants to compromise the contract award process through bribery and document forgery. In a separate case, the ICPC has secured the conviction of Mustafa Mohammed and Tijani Adam Goni, both of the National Assembly, Abuja. They were found guilty of defrauding Saifuddin Yaqub and Aminu Abubakar of over 4 million naira, promising to secure jobs for them at the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Federal Inland Revenue Service, respectively. Following diligent investigations, the defendants were arraigned before Honorable Justice B.M. Bassi of the FCT High Court number 55, sitting at Asokoro. ICPC Prosecuting Counsel Fatima Abdullahi Bardi informed the court that the defendants faced a 5-count charge related to this corrupt job scam.
So the ICPC received a petition from 2 petitioners alleging that they were defrauded of some amount of money, specifically 4.8 million naira, which they had given to 2 individuals. One was a staff of the National Assembly Commission, and the other was an associate of his. So they gave them money with the promise that they would secure jobs for them at the CBN and FIRS. Eventually, they forged an employment letter, an offer letter from FIRS and CBN with the individuals' names and gave it to them. So these people, on getting to these organizations for documentation, were asked to leave because they were informed that those employment letters were forged and they did not originate from the CBN and FIRS. So as a result of that, they petitioned the ICPC for investigation. Investigation was concluded, and we found out that these 2 individuals are notoriously known for receiving money from people, promising them jobs in organizations like CBN, FIRS, NCC, and all these major MDAs in the country. So we concluded our investigations and they were charged to court. On getting to court, they were arraigned and the case commenced. So what happened was they wrote to the commission and pleading for mercy. So the chairman approved that they should refund the money that they were paid in full and then plead guilty in court. So that was what happened in court. First of all, Nigerians should know that the act of giving somebody money to secure a job slot for you in the first place is an offense. So by doing that, you're committing an offense because you're bribing somebody to get something for you. That's the first one. Secondly, the person accepting the bribe to attempt to secure job slots for you is also committing an offense because he's obtaining money under false pretense. An organization or a staff of an organization has no right to accept money on behalf of someone else to secure a job from him. When organizations want to embark on recruitment, they advertise. There are processes that are put in place before the recruitment is concluded. The opportunity costs for corruption in an organization will lead to lack of productivity from staff, because when you find instances where a staff is not qualified for a role that he is given, you would not expect that person to be productive on the job. That's number one. Then we can have instances of truancy where the person is not even interested in the role that is given to him because in the first place, he is not qualified for that job.
The ICPC also secured the conviction of Mr. Abubakar Bawa Makuku, sole administrator and caretaker chairman of Sakaba local government area in Kebbi State, and Mr. Ahmed Abdullahi Fakai, its director of finance and supply, for contract fraud and abuse of office involving 54 million naira. The duo was arraigned before Honorable Justice E. Gako of the Federal High Court, Birnin Kebbi, on multiple counts. They pleaded not guilty, but in his judgment, Justice Gako found them guilty as charged and convicted them accordingly. ICPC Legal Counsel Hamza Sani explains.
This case was commenced by way of petition, which was written to ICPC, and same petition was investigated. And during the investigation of the said petition, it was revealed that Kebbi State government sent an allocation to Sakaba local government for the upkeep of that particular local government, so that they should carry some contracts, some official engagement of that particular local government. So along the line, this the way these local government stakeholders concerning the chairman, sole administrator, and the people around him, what they used to do then, that's table payment of all things. So with the advancement or adventure of, or I can say with the commencement of Money Laundering Act of 2022, it brings about how to make payments, how to make withdrawals, and how to make so many transactions in all aspects of contracts and what have you. So what this petition triggered is withdrawal of cash. That's large sum in cash and payment of contractors in cash. That's what the petition is all about. And our investigation revealed that the sole administrator, I can say the caretaker of that particular local government, which is Sakaba local government of Kebbi State, after receiving the said allocation, he assigned the director of finance and supply of that particular local government to go and withdraw the sum in tranches. So to avoid the duty of reporting of the said transaction, the DFA, which is the director of finance and supply of that particular local government, and the chairman connived and set a target of way of withdrawing the whole sum in tranches in various days and time. And at the same time, this same sole administrator of the said local government gave away or awarded a contract to one particular person, Muhammad Bawadiri, who is one of our witnesses. He came to the court, he testified, he said that, yes, I was awarded a contract, but there is no any, he didn't participate in any bidding process or procurement process. He was unilaterally awarded the contract to carry out the drilling of hand pumps. So we didn't go into detail of whether the pumps were drilled, but our investigators, they went to all the communities that they claimed that is there any borehole that was drilled there? Yes, they confirmed and snap pictures that yes, there were boreholes that were drilled. But the issue is that our issue is one thing. Is there any process that was followed in awarding the contract? But our investigation revealed that there is no any process followed in awarding the contract. So that's how we got to the root of the case. We proved our case beyond iota of doubt, let me put it that way, and then they were all convicted accordingly by the court. What people fail to understand about this abuse of office and procurement processes, like, why do people abuse office and why do people jump to procurement process? All these things were done in a way of making sure that I beat the stages.
You're still watching Transparency Files. In a world where truth can hide in the shadows and justice often comes at a heavy cost, one case will shake an entire country to its core: the jailing of law professor Cyril Ndifon of the University of Calabar for sexual abuse. ICPC's legal counsel, Ebie Oglafa, tells us more.
The commission some 2 years ago got a petition against the non-convict Professor Cyril Ndifon, who at the time was the Dean of the Faculty of Law in the University of Calabar, Professor Mosim Ndifon. And the petition was brought by a student who was a diploma student. And the commission, as usual, received the petition and swung into action and began investigation. And a lot was gotten from the investigation that was carried out by the commission. And then, based on the evidence that was gotten, a charge was filed against the professor. And the charge had two defendants, the professor being the first defendant and another lawyer. This lawyer was involved because at some point he called the victim of that offense to try to see how you could stall her from coming to the commission to aid our investigation. So the charge was a 4-count charge. The first count had to do with Cyber Crimes Act, Section 24 of the Cyber Crimes Act, which had to do with him asking for obscene photos from the victim, which of course is an offense. He's not supposed to do that based off of their relationship. It's prohibited by one of the laws in Nigeria. The second count had to do with abuse of office. That's Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Related Acts. That's our own Act 2000. That one, he conferred unfair advantage on himself because based off of his office, he solicited for her nude photos, which of course is an offense. And then he was convicted on the first and the second count. The third count had to do with the second defendant. That's the lawyer who called the victim to get her not to give her side of the story. Although he wasn't convicted on that count, the court held that we didn't corroborate the testimony of the witness. But at least we know that there was a call put through, and the fourth one was a conspiracy because that call was made on behalf of the first defendant, that's the convict. That call was made on behalf of him. They didn't want her to come and give her testimony. So I feel like this judgment is a good one for the commission. It will help people who are in that line of action to desist from carrying out such offenses, carrying out such crimes rather, because imagine a student being in school and not free to do what they have to do just because someone harasses them and compels them to do things that they ordinarily don't want to do. And also it's a win for victims of such crime to speak up so that these things can, be attacked and be faced, and it will serve, this judgment, of course, will serve as a deterrent to others not to carry out the same act. It will also boost the confidence of others that are victims of this crime to speak up and say, no, this thing was happening to me or it has happened to me, and then somehow we can curb the crime of sexual harassment in the nation at large. I'll say is multifaceted. That's what I will say. From the part of both parents, the students themselves, and even the lecturers, so to say. On the part of the parents, it's good that they raise their children in such a way that they are confident to stand against the things that are not to their advantage. In this case, she was bold enough to want to even come to court to testify. Not many people want to tell their story. And I can imagine how many people are dying in silence with the effect and, are already traumatized by such actions. So parents should I would encourage, or I would say parents should draw lessons from this to raise their children in such a way that they can speak against injustice. And then on the part of the students too, they also should not keep silent at any point. I'm not saying that students should not have regard, but I'm saying that when these things, they know clearly that these things are wrong, they should be able to speak up and stand against it and be able to build a community in a way that they can speak with themselves, hold each other. Because her friends, this this lady that just got justice now, her friends encouraged her to be able to speak. So I mean that if there's a community of friends that you can encourage, if you find anybody being a victim of such a crime, you can come together and see how you help them, speak up, so that these people don't die in silence. Some people are traumatized. It affects them before in the future it begins to tell out in different ways that are not so good. And then on the part of the lecturers, I think lecturers should embody the position of guardian. They should be able to guide students. They are their words, so to say. They have a duty to protect these words. So just go do your duty, which is to impact knowledge, and it should just end there. It should not transcend beyond, what it is that they were employed for. Asking for the nudes of a young lady, I don't think it helps anybody in any way.
In another significant conviction, the ICPC secured the guilty verdict against Mr. Garuba Mohammed Duku, a retired director of finance and administration with the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council. He was convicted for corruption and money laundering involving over 300 million naira. Mr. Duku was sentenced to 24 years imprisonment by the Federal High Court Abuja, presided over by Justice James Omotosho, after being found guilty on a 6-count charge. Investigations revealed that between 2012 and 2013, the convict fraudulently diverted the money belonging to AMMC into his personal Fidelity account. The commission demonstrated that his method of fund release and withdrawal violated government financial regulations. The court sentenced him to 4 years on each count to run concurrently, or an option of a fine totaling approximately 1.6 billion naira. And finally, the ICPC has secured the conviction of Mr. Dare Adebowale Oladapo, a former deputy director at the Kwara State Directorate of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. He was found guilty of falsifying his age to fraudulently receive salaries and allowances for 4 months after his due retirement. Honorable Justice Ibrahim Yusuf of the Kwara State High Court, Ilorin, delivered the conviction. The court also ordered him to refund over 1.2 million naira to the federal government via the ICPC recovery account. That's all time will allow on this week's Transparency Files. The ICPC reaffirmed its commitment to promoting transparency, accountability, and integrity in engagements between public institutions and private entities. The Commission commends the judiciary for its diligence and professionalism and urges the public, civil society organizations, and the media to continue supporting the national anti-corruption effort by reporting suspicious activities through the ICPC's designated channels. Together, we can build a Nigeria where public contracts are awarded on merit and integrity prevails over corruption. Join us again next week at 6:30 p.m. on NTA Network and NTA International. Until then, it's bye for now. Compliments of the season.